So this is where I say a couple bit of nonsense that I'm going to edit because that's how I do this.
This whole podcast is nonsense.
Well, that is true. Welcome to Pop Culture Roulette for all your pop culture needs. We're America's podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm Nicholas. I'm joined by Justin. Um,
Yeah. One half.
and Jeremy has once again been kidnapped by EA for continuing his bashing of Madden, which he
He, he
hasn't.
he's
Which he
been
hasn't.
kidnapped by higher education.
Oh, that is true. Higher education has kidnapped him. He will be graduating this semester, so hopefully we won't have to deal with that for much longer. But maybe he goes on and does more later. But
Yeah.
that's up to him. But
Higher education.
sometimes things are more important than this silly little podcast, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
So anyway, how are things?
Oh, things are good. Things are busy. I'm working a lot. I mean, we took off last week for the Super Bowl.
Right, right. And
But
we'll
not having a dog in the horse, it turned out to be a pretty good game.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a little bit because there's some pretty big things that came out of that game. But first, so I'm old, right? I've hit that magic age of 45, almost 46 now. So,
Good God.
uh, man, I'm getting way closer to 50 than I think I probably ever thought I was going to be.
That's how I feel at 40.
And so anyway, I had to have a procedure this week.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
How was that?
interesting. Interesting. So I had a colonoscopy. Thursday was not a fun day because you have to drink this drink that makes you cleans out your system.
Evacuates the old bowels.
Yeah, it definitely does that. Um,
Turns your butthole into Mount Vesuvius.
yeah. I will say I'm glad that the originally they had scheduled the appointment for like 12:30. And since I wasn't allowed to eat at all on Thursday, like I ate like 9:30, 10 o'clock. I had like a little snack on Wednesday night, and then I didn't eat again until like 10 o'clock Friday morning.
Okay.
So, I was kind of hungry. But thankfully they moved the appointment up to like I had to be there at 6:30 in the morning. So, got up. Basically, I left the house about the same time I leave for work every day. So it wasn't like I had to get up early.
That seems like a terrible way though to start your day.
Yeah. So I went there and then, you have to get on the gown that they clearly don't understand that I'm a bigger man. So, that was super, not fun.
What one size fits none kind of gown?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, they wheel me into the room and I'm laying there and they're like, the anesthesiologist is like, all right. And she starts injecting this white liquid into the IV. And she's like, all right, you might feel a little like tingling, a little burny sensation, but you're going to go. And next thing I know, I was waking up in the room. Like,
All right.
I, because I've had a couple knee surgeries and a couple hand surgeries. So like, I remember them putting me under like, all right, we're going to count back from 100 and like starting like, not even tired, 99, like getting down to like 90, 85 before I just passed. This time she was like, yeah, I'm gonna, like, I remember nothing. I just remember waking back up and they're just like, okay, we're done. You can get dressed now.
Wow. They could have done whatever then.
Yeah, I don't know what they did. I choose not to think about it.
Uh, it's like Seinfeld when he's working at the dentist, tucked or untucked.
Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, because they were playing around with body parts that I don't necessarily let people play around with. So,
Yeah.
um, They did remove four polyps, and they said they'd get back to me, but I don't have to get another one for 5 years.
All right. You're
So
counting down.
yeah, got got
Countdown.
got the countdown started.
Yeah. Colonoscopy countdown on the calendar.
Right, yeah, might that 5 years from now we'll have this conversation again. But yeah, I would like to say like as a I guess middle age. I guess I'm middle aged now at 45.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right around there.
that it's kind of important to take care of your health, and I know that's something that we're kind of a joke podcast. We tend to just have fun and make stupid. But every so often we'll try to be serious, and this would be one of those things. Like, hey, get yourself checked every so often. Take care of your health. But
Yeah.
because of that, let's talk about butts.
Done.
Finding research on this was difficult at best. So the first bare ass on TV that I could find reference to was Gary Berghoff, who played Radar on MASH in 1973. Apparently, MASH, which is a show we have talked about way more than you would think a podcast of our caliber would talk about. But man, we talk about that show a lot,
We do.
considering we don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, we could go through and try to give it another go round. I mean, I tried it the one time, couldn't do it.
Nah, it's
All
not
right.
worth it. I'm not doing it. The first, however, that's one of those like like that's they claim it didn't happen, but like there's video, like like it's one of those like the first credited ass was Ed Flanders on St. Elsewhere in 1987.
Not Ned Flanders.
No, no, not Ned Flanders.
Okay.
Ed
And
Flanders.
in his ski suit.
Stupid, sexy Flanders. Um,
That's the one.
the earliest reference to a naked ass on live TV was there was a streaker on the Oscars in 1974. David Niven was giving a speech, and a streaker across the stage.
Hmm.
Um, I find it very interesting that all evidence of like ass on TV was all guy. Like not a lot of
Yeah.
like much later in history before female ass started showing up. But I couldn't think of a way to really do a whole episode on ass. So just wanted to
Just wanted to give it its due.
give it a little little
Yeah.
exposure.
See what you did there, you cheeky bastard.
All right, so we had the Super Bowl.
That we did.
This was what they classified as the most watched TV ever in the history of TV. It was,
I saw those Swifties watching the game.
we're going to talk about that here in a second, but all right. So, but the top 10 most viewed episodes or things on TV of all time, all 10 of them are Super Bowls.
Just say sporting events.
Yeah, all 10 of them are Super Bowls. 123.714 million people watched the Super Bowl this year. I think it's absolutely of no coincidence that the most watched Super Bowl of all time is now this one.
How do they classify how many people watched that?
See, this is what
there was four of us.
right. Okay, so I worked for Nielsen Media Research for not quite a year, 15 years ago. So I don't know how they're doing it now because at the time, like it was the beginning of streaming, like was just starting, like internet TV was sort of becoming a thing. Like I think Netflix was just getting around to trying to start doing video stuff. I don't know. I don't remember there being any other streamers. Actually, I guess maybe it would have been a little over 15 years ago now that I think about it, but in the last 15 to 20 years. But it was definitely something that we all knew was coming.
Right.
DVR had already completely wrecked the Nielsen media because very few people were watching live things anymore. We all had DVRs, so we were recording everything so that we could watch it the next day, so we could fast forward through the commercials. So, but there's a formula where they pick them. Let's just say Milwaukee, whatever the population of Milwaukee is, close to 1 million people. they look for a certain amount of houses, of the races, of ages, of people with kids, without kids, how many kids, and then there's a certain number of each category that they need to hit, that they want to get into the house, and they hook up little devices to every TV, VCR, all the things that can watch TV, and it sends a signal back to somewhere in Florida. It gives them, so if, like, there's a million people, and I don't know what the actual number is, so I'm just going to make some numbers up. They need 20 houses with two kids, 40 houses with one kid, or whatever it is to accurately measure. And they say, like, if we have all of these houses, then they figured out that somehow, like, statistics, and this is where not doing math comes into play. Um, that if they have X amount of houses watching this show, that means, like, they think overall, like, this many people are watching that show in Milwaukee. So if you got 100 houses in Milwaukee hooked up to the Nielsen Media Research, and 25 of them are watching this one show, then theoretically that means 25% or whatever, however they work the math out to be, is watching it. Which is why I've never really bought the rating system in the first place, because having worked for Nielsen Media Research, I can tell you that the people who actually are willing to let you in their house are not necessarily the people that you want dictating the kind of TV that you watch.
All right.
And that's why people like you and I get shows that we really love canceled, because we're not the ones signing up, that are getting signed up for Nielsen Media Research. Or when they call us, we're like, and hang up on them.
It's not even I don't know that number.
So I don't know how they're doing it now, because it's probably even harder to figure out what people are actually watching. Because I mean, people are cut cords so much that, and I really think that, like, honestly, like, Spectrum probably was doing a better job of telling you what people were actually watching than Nielsen was, because they could look at their numbers on their cable boxes
Yeah.
and say, well, we have this many cable boxes and this many of them, but
We're on at this time with this channel,
right,
or at least show, because different channels, different areas.
right, yeah. So I don't really know. There's a math formula that they've dictated that says if we have this many houses in the Nielsen, that are Nielsen, then we can say, but that, like you just pointed out, like, if Tony was a Nielsen house, there's four people there. So, like, how does it credit four people? Or, like, say I was a Nielsen house, but I went and watched it over at Tony's house, my TV wouldn't be on. So it wouldn't count my watching the Super Bowl, even though I was just somewhere else.
Right.
I've always felt like the ratings are somewhat amorphous. Like,
Bo
like,
bogus.
yeah, like, they're probably pretty accurate, but let's just say, because this year's Super Bowl was an interesting matchup. I mean, San Francisco and Kansas City are not the biggest markets in the world, so you can't say that, like it's not a New York, LA, like it's not a Giants versus Rams.
Well, that would never happen.
Well, no, but
You could
uh,
say Jets Rams, because at least then you got AFC,
okay, all right.
NFC.
Jets, Rams, or so you can't say, oh well, you got the New York and the LA market, so I I feel like, for the and it's not like this matchup didn't happen like 3 years ago,
What, 3 or 4?
3 or 4 years ago.
Because it was an election year. Because they're
Okay.
pointing all of that out, that it's the same, all the things that are the same.
Oh, okay. But so you can't say that people were super excited about a Brock Purdy versus Patrick Mahomes matchup. You know,
True.
people are already turning on Mahomes the same way that people started turning on Brady. Um, Although people Brady deserved to be turned on, Mahomes doesn't.
It's just his family is a little
Well, yeah, his family is, but he's not the problem. He
right.
just he his family has got some issues. You can't choose. You can choose your friends. You can't choose your family.
True.
Um, but all things being what it is, I mean, obviously the Super Bowl is always going to be one of the most watched events of the year. It just is because that is everybody gets together to watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah, like we do every year.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Super
I
Bowl.
think Tony and I have been doing that since 2008.
Well, I see. I don't. Whenever I started working, whenever I moved back to Wisconsin, and like you guys started inviting me over pretty soon after. So like 2009, 2010. So other than a
Yeah,
couple years,
we all make bad choices.
other than other than a couple years here or there, like I've watched the Super Bowl with you almost every year since like '09, or 10.
Were you there for the Packers win?
Yes, I was.
Yeah,
And I don't remember if that was I want to say that was probably the second Super Bowl I watched with you guys.
I don't remember. It's been so long.
But I mean, all that being said, I think the only thing that you can say is like, I think it has to be the Taylor Swift effect.
Yeah, I can't argue. I would
I
agree with it.
mean, because it's not like it was like, the Houston Texans versus the Seattle Seahawks, or the Seahawks hadn't been there in a while, but it wasn't like,
Detroit.
yeah, it wasn't Detroit versus Houston, or some sort of matchup that we had never seen before, some team that hadn't been there in forever. The Bills finally make it back to the Super Bowl for the first time since '90, whatever.
What was it? The
Yeah.
Bills and the Vikings made it.
Oh,
What
I
are
think
they combined like 0 for 8?
0 for 8, 0 for 9. Some I don't remember. I know the Bills lost four in a row. Have they lost any more than those four?
That was the last time they went, I believe.
Okay. And then I know the Vikings lost like 4 or 5, but they
Yeah.
didn't lose them in a row. But yeah, yeah, the world might implode if the Bills ever play the Vikings because that means that one of them has to win, right?
Yeah. I mean, unless they're gonna end it in a tie.
Which I don't think they can. I don't think they'll let I think the Super Bowl goes on until there's a winner. Like, but yeah, I have. Well, you guys
Well,
started
0 for 8. They
0
would be
for 8. Yeah.
combined.
So I was accused of being a Swiftie multiple times at the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I have been accused multiple times since being home with the wife of being a Swiftie.
Oh, he
I would
wasn't listening to our conversation. There was like no hidden mics on you.
no. Well,
Okay.
we've talked about some of the stuff that was said at the party, but not all of it, obviously. But I would just like to say that I hate that I've been in a position the last couple of weeks that I have to defend Taylor Swift because one, she doesn't need my help. We need her help more than she needs our help. And two, like I really can't identify a Taylor Swift song other than like Blank Pages. Like,
Shake it off.
oh, see, okay, all right, two songs then. So I would just like to state for the record that I don't believe that I'm a Swiftie.
All right.
I'm just accused of being one.
Got it.
I
What's her favorite number?
13.
Oh, it makes you sad that you know that.
It does make me sad. It makes me sad because it only helps bolster the claim that I am
Yeah.
like I'm some sort of secret Swiftie
Super Swifty, man.
because I don't like her music. I really don't. Like I don't like. I'm not against it. Like I'm not like if it's not like country music where I'm like turn it off.
I change the station in the car when she comes on.
But
I get yelled at for it. I
yeah,
get outruled 2-1, but I'm like, I don't care.
yeah. I don't like. I don't. It's not my cup of tea. It really isn't. But like I'm in a position where like during the AFC Championship game, they showed her like 43 seconds or whatever it was. Like they literally had a segment about making crab cakes longer on TV than they showed Taylor Swift. Like in the
Okay.
Super Bowl, if you don't include when Travis Kelce and her were hugging and kissing on the sideline, on the field after the game was over. during the game for the entire like 4 hour extravaganza that the Super Bowl was. She was on screen for 54 seconds.
Someone did the math.
Someone did the math.
All right, that's what I was trying to look for. 11 times
Right.
for 55
Okay,
seconds.
so 55 seconds, 54 seconds, yeah. But you would have thought that like they just had a dedicated camera on Taylor
They probably did.
and you would have thought that like they didn't show the Super Bowl. They just showed her watching it the way people were bitching and moaning about it on TV. Or not on TV, on Twitter and on Facebook and on whatever social media platform they want to use. But I mean, she was barely on. Like it was like I mean, they showed Brock Purdy's father almost as much as they showed Taylor Swift.
You remember, this isn't Super Bowl related, but how much they showed Tommy DeVito's agent
Right.
more than they showed Taylor Swift.
Right. I mean, Tommy DeVito's agent and Tommy DeVito's father got more airtime in that Packer Giants game than Taylor Swift did in multiple games combined. Like, but yet
Yeah.
nobody was whining and bitching about that. They were all moaning and groaning about Taylor. I don't know why all of a sudden Taylor Swift has gone from like, you know, number one to, like everybody hates her. I don't quite get it. I mean, by all accounts, she's a very good person. By all accounts, she takes care of her people and all of her fans. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
sounds like everything you hear or read or see. Like
yeah,
even with the whole Super Bowl parade
right,
event, she donated a bunch to that too.
right. I mean, they were the lady who died in the shooting at the parade. They were looking to make 75,000 in crowdfunding, and she donated 100 grand. Just
Yeah.
here, done. But people were like, "Oh, that's all she did." Like that's only like $10 to me and to you and me. First
Ten
off,
bucks is still $10. I'm not.
right. Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't care how rich you are. If I'm gonna write a check for 100 grand, that's still a lot of money. Like, that's not like, especially if you didn't grow up living with billions. Like, she has earned the billion on what she does for a living. So I guarantee you, like writing 100 grand check was still like, oh, that's a lot of money. I mean, she probably didn't think twice about it because that seems to be the kind of person that she is. And she was like, well, this is the right thing to do. But, I mean, if we were making that kind of money doing this podcast, yeah, we would be donating all kinds of money to those kinds of charities. And
Yeah, money or time or both.
right. But, people aren't paying us to do this just yet. So
We'll get there.
when we're sitting in the box at some WNBA game because Jeremy's dating who's the Caitlin Clark all of a sudden.
Could be. Is that the one that was in the three competition?
No, that's
Or is that
Sabrina
so
Iascu.
that's the Iowa?
Yeah, Caitlin Clark's the one that just broke the college scoring record.
Yeah.
I think she has a boyfriend, but in this world, we've gotten rid of him, and she's now dating Jeremy, so that the three of us are now at courtside at like WNBA games, and people want to listen to our podcast because one of us is dating Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. Be doing live podcast during a game.
Absolutely.
While you're in the background of squeaking shoes.
Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, anything else we want to talk about with the Super Bowl? I mean, at the end of the day,
Commercials were bad.
no, there were some pretty good ones. What was your favorite one?
God, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some of them. Was the T-Mobile one with Jason Momoa? Was
Yeah,
that?
that was towards the end, but yeah, that was a pretty good one.
That one was good. I mean, the Nerds Rope one was
Was
pretty
weird.
funny. It was clustered.
Yeah, that one was super weird. The Dun Kings was pretty funny.
Yeah.
That was one of my
The
favorites.
new Mountain Dew.
Oh yeah, with Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nick Offerman.
yeah, that was a good one. The
Remember
Arnold's,
when we were first talking about the podcast and watching the Super Bowl, you used to bring your notebook and you would
yes,
write down the commercials.
right.
Do those notebooks still exist?
Probably somewhere. I don't tend to throw a lot of stuff out, so
I have some filled up notebooks from podcast past.
yeah. So I'm sure that there's somewhere, I'm sure at some point in the future I'll be cleaning out a box going, why do I still have this? We haven't done that episode in 10 years.
Find it, eBay.
Yeah, man, maybe I should just not throw them away. I'll just keep them, and then one of these days when we have more than 20 to 25 people listening on an episode, we'll sell them for money.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not knocking 20 to 25.
Yeah, I probably should have been writing stuff down, but I don't know. I don't know why I didn't do it this year. I also have an app on my phone that takes notes, which I should probably have just been, typing out instead of, you know, not.
Yeah.
Oh well, maybe next year.
Eh. I mean, when the Packers face the Ravens, we'll have more important things to do than take notes on commercials.
Absolutely. I would say that the fault of the 49ers losing the game rests solely on the shoulders of Kyle Shanahan.
Are you talking about the overtime or just the end
In
of the game?
the end of the game and overtime,
Yeah.
um, I think, you have a double digit lead going into halftime in three separate Super Bowls that you're the head coach or offensive coordinator in, and you've blown each one of them. There's clearly something wrong with how you call the game.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not your defensive coordinator's fault.
right.
Even if
Settling,
he did have to fall on that sword.
yeah, settling for field goals or kicking, punting, taking the ball first in overtime, even though like it's not a sudden death anymore. Bad coaching decisions. Brock Purdy wasn't the reason they didn't get the job done. Christian McCaffrey fumbling in the first half wasn't the reason that they lost the game. Not having, Dre Greenlaw or Trey. Is it Dre or Trey?
I think it's Trey.
All right. Not having Trey Greenlaw for most of the game isn't the reason why you lost. It's solely down to, I mean, how many 49er players in the last week have you heard say they didn't understand the new rules in the Super Bowl? And every Kansas City Chief player was like, we understood.
Yeah, we practiced that.
Yeah, we practiced that. We knew, you know. So that tells me that Andy Reid was prepared and knew what to prepare for. And the Chiefs
It,
and the 49ers weren't.
it's Dre.
Dre, okay. Yeah, Dre Greenlaw.
That
Uh,
sucks. That sucks for him.
it does because it also means he's going to miss all of next year as well. It tells me that, because I know when you and I watched the Super Bowl where the 49ers got, not the 49ers, the Falcons got beat when they were up, what, 28-3? And
Yeah.
I was saying, if I'm the 49ers, I rescind the coaching offer to Shanahan right now. I mean, granted, he has taken them to two Super Bowls since taking over, but it's the exact same thing he's done that he did to the Falcons. He's done to the 49ers. Like it's the
Yeah.
same. It was the same problem with McCarthy. I mean, granted, McCarthy only ever went to the one Super Bowl and he did win it, but it's the reason why McCarthy hasn't been back to the Super Bowl since. Like, I mean, how many games did the Packers have in the bag in the first half or the first three quarters, only to lose it because of super conservative or super questionable play calling?
They had a couple of those this year too, but that was all because of defense.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, the Packers defense does get questionable at times, but
Yeah. Oh well, new defense.
yep. All right, but anything else you want to talk about with the Super Bowl? Anything that happened or didn't happen?
Yeah, the halftime show started out pretty boring, got better.
Wasn't as bad as the Black Eyed Peas super halftime show from however
No,
many years ago.
yeah,
Wasn't
that was trash.
wasn't as good as the one, was it last year, a couple years ago when it was Dre and Snoop and Eminem and
I want to say 2 years, but I don't know for certain.
okay,
That's
yeah.
something we'll have to look up one time is half time Super Bowl shows.
Well, now that there's been what, 58 Super Bowls, maybe we can do a Super Bowl bracket, a Super Bowl halftime bracket.
Yeah. Well, I don't know when they started doing music.
Well,
Is
that's
that
what I'm
it?
saying. There's going to be up with kids 1 through 6 might just be one entry,
Yeah.
and they're not each going to get their own individual.
Super Bowl one, the halftime shows like five cheerleaders out there.
Yeah, up with kids, and then they had, like, I don't remember. They've had some pretty lame ones, but ever since at least Michael Jackson, they've kind of been like, we have to try. Maybe next year, being in New Orleans, we'll actually get a good Super Bowl act, but that seems unlikely.
I just pulled up a website and it talks about 36 Super Bowl halftime shows ranked from mediocre to best.
Okay.
Number 36, Dre, Eminem, and Snoop Dogg. So that's last.
Oh,
They said the Black Eyed Peas is better.
that's just so I'm automatically that list is wrong.
So that's as much as I'll go with because this does seem like something that'll be good for a topic.
Yep, yep.
But to have that worse than the Black Eyed Peas is just
It just
that's just asinine.
right. It just tells me that the rest of that list is automatically suspect.
Yeah, your list is trash. We will be coming up with our own.
Absolutely. So, do you want to talk about some of the most watched non Super Bowl related TV things of all time?
Do I want to? Sure.
Okay. So I've got 1 through 10 here. Starting with, well, so a show we've already talked about once today.
MASH season
Yes,
finale.
season finale of MASH, number one in 1983 with 106 million, which
Oh,
based on the population of the country and how many TVs existed in 1983 was probably well
that
over half.
that was huge.
That was huge.
All right.
Um, Number two, which seems strange, and I don't know how they figured this out, um, because I would have thought it would have been something like MASH or a single episode or a movie or something on TV, but they just had number two as Gulf War coverage from 91 with 85.6.
Interesting. That's an interesting thing to make that the list.
Right. Um, because I mean, I remember there wasn't like one single night of the Gulf War coverage where we're like everybody was like, I have to watch TV. So I don't
No,
know. I don't know how they chose that as a they didn't really specify. Number three was the Clinton Trump debate of 2016 with 84 million. So that would have been Hillary Clinton, not Bill.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
who they could have been debating. Who knows?
yeah, they were probably just yelling at each other. I mean, it was
Yeah.
Number four was Dallas, the fourth episode of the fourth season. That was at the height of the Who Shot
Who shot
JR camp.
JR?
Yeah. That was 83.6. Number five was the Carter Reagan debate with 80.6.
All right, so far, I've watched none of these.
Right. Well, I'm going to guess until we get to the last one, you haven't watched any of them.
That's true.
Uh, Number six is the Cheers finale of 93
Mm. Yep.
with 80.5. And you can see the difference between 93 and 83 already. That, now because 83, there was still pretty much just ABC, NBC, and CBS and PBS channels and then a couple local channels. Fox didn't even exist in 83. Cable was barely a thing. I'm not even sure satellite TV, like maybe some people had satellite TV, but like you had very few options in 83. By 93, that was when cable had started to become a thing and VCRs were a thing. So it dropped by 23 million people in just 10 years of who was watching like the cultural touchstone show, you know.
Yeah, that when you put it in those kind of terms, that does just speak how big the Super Bowls have been.
Right. Because and so then let's see if you know why this particular event at number 7 was at number 7. The 94 Winter Olympics ladies figure skating.
Is that Kerrigan and Harding?
Yes. Yeah, that was a 78.8. This one was strange to me. I didn't quite understand why this particular thing was number 8 on the list. But there was a TV movie in 1983 called The Day After.
All right.
It was
Day after what?
The Day After is a movie about the fallout of nuclear war, and it was at the height of the Cold War and towards the end of like nuclear proliferation. It was coming off the heels of the not super because obviously Kennedy died in what 69. So
Sounds
it
about
was
right.
yeah, it was a little bit after that, but it was definitely kind of still fresh in the mind of the Cuban Missile Crisis and it was definitely at the height of the Cold War of U.S. versus Russia. Russia was still the bad guy in all the movies. They did a movie about like oh what happened what would happen if the nuclear warheads actually went off, and apparently in 1983 almost everybody watched it.
All right.
And then number 9 was Roots Part 8.
Is
Um,
that the last part?
yes. There was it was an 8 straight day mini series event, which they don't do anymore, to my knowledge.
I've never seen that either.
Neither have I. One of these days, I probably should watch it. The part 8 was 76.7 million. They estimated for all 8 parts about 140 million people watched it. Like if you put all 8 parts together.
Okay. What's the last like made for TV miniseries like they did something like that for?
I mean, I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, they did like It and the Langoliers and like they did like like
Well,
they did stuff like that back then they would do like a 1 or 2 night like special movie or mini series.
what was the one I think is like 2000s, 90, late 90s? 10th Kingdom? Is that the
Yeah,
one with Ed O'Neill?
oh, I don't even remember, but yeah, I mean, I guess Sci-Fi Channel tried to do that a couple times.
They did that with Tin Man too.
Yeah, Tin Man, where they would just do rather than do a whole series, they would just do 2 or 3 nights of yeah, but they don't. They had a commercial during the Super Bowl for it. It was a show called Shogun, a show that's coming on FX called Shogun. That looks
Yeah.
pretty interesting. I know back in the '80s that was a big like couple night movie. Like it was huge. Like everybody was talking about it. It was a 2 or 3 night thing, and so this is going to be bigger and probably better done than it was back then. But
Hmm.
and probably more accurate.
I will see. As long as it
But
makes for good TV.
right. But yeah, no, they don't really do the TV miniseries anymore. That's probably something that some of our younger people, like Jeremy, might not even know. Like,
Maybe.
I mean, he might. Yeah, yeah. I don't
He
know. Like,
might. He's got some good pop culture knowledge.
that is true,
Can't
and
run a
he
game, can't run a game show without it.
that is true, and he does hang out with some old people who probably have educated him on some stuff. Okay, and then number 10 was the most recent thing on the list.
Friends.
The Seinfeld finale.
I wasn't sure if we were friends or Seinfeld.
Okay, yeah,
That was a stupid finale.
I liked it. I thought it was a fitting. I know a lot of people hated it at the time, but looking back on it now, it really fit with the show. Like it was as stupid. Like it ended just as stupidly as most of every episode went. Like it just. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what we expected it to, how they expected to end it. I mean, it wasn't a show that was set up to end the way that like Everybody Loves Raymond or Friends was.
Yeah. Isn't there a whole episode where they're just looking for a car in a parking garage?
Yes. There's a whole episode where they're just in the waiting room waiting to go into a restaurant. And those are some of the best episodes in the series. Like I mean, it was a show about nothing.
Yeah.
And so
It's right in the title.
for them to end as dumb as a lot of the plot lines in that show was, it fit. I felt like the ending of Seinfeld was was quite honestly perfect for how the rest of the show was.
All right.
But I looked it up because I was curious. In 1978, the year I was born, the number one show was Laverne and Shirley.
Good choice. Good choice.
Averaged about 23 million an episode. The year you were born, 87, was the Cosby Show,
Mm,
which,
didn't age well.
well, the show itself is still, well, I don't know if the show was ever good, but the show itself is not the problem.
No.
The content of the show, not the issue. More just one particular individual
Oh,
involved with said Cosby Show that has made the show relatively difficult. That had an average of 30.5. And then since Jeremy's not here, he was born in 91, and the way they broke it up was either Cheers or 60 Minutes was the number one show. And I'm guessing 60 Minutes was the number one show in 91 because of Gulf War, because it was a news show.
the Cosby Show is only streaming on Philo or Philo, however you say it,
Oh,
and then Amazon Prime Video, where you got to pay for the episodes.
oh, I'm sure a lot of people have them on DVD.
I'm just like, I wonder if that's still streaming somewhere.
I wonder if, like, do you have live TV at your house at all?
HBO, Hulu Live.
Okay, no. Do
That's the
you
closest they get.
you don't have like a TV antenna that you could like if the internet went out, you could watch something?
Not anymore. I gave
Okay.
that away to my dad.
Oh, okay. I have a when I moved into the house, the guy who owned it before me had a nice big antenna on the roof. So we get a shit ton of channels. Because it's big enough and where we are located in Burlington, I get all of Milwaukee and I get a lot of Chicago.
All right.
So like I have to like when I'm watching a sporting event, I go to NBC. I got to remember to get to the right NBC to watch the Milwaukee NBC and not the Chicago NBC because sometimes I'll be watching it and I'm like, why am I seeing a lot of commercials for Chicago, Illinois? Oh, I'm on the wrong one again. But there's so many digital channels because they went from analog to digital a couple years ago. So like
Hmm.
there's 4.1, 4.2, 4, all that. So like there's Laugh and Boom and whatever, all these random
Me TV still a thing?
Me TV is still one. So surely there's one of those networks that still runs Cosby Show because like there's just not enough people that, would complain about something like that anymore. So many people don't just
Yeah.
or yeah,
It's what they can get their hands on.
right. Until this year when I was watching We Are Family, I can't tell you the last time I've intentionally sat down to watch a TV show at a set time that wasn't a sporting event. Like it wasn't like, appointment TV back when it was like 8 o'clock Thursday nights. I gotta be home because Friends is on, followed by whatever, followed by that. Like I gotta be home on Thursday nights.
Yeah, outside of football or sports, yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing where I'm like, I gotta make sure. I'm like, I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll watch it
And
later.
and I gotta tell you, even though I was on it, now that the three episodes that I were on, I haven't watched the last two episodes of We Are Family.
I haven't watched any.
Wait, you didn't even watch the ones I was on?
I don't watch any of it.
Oh man, I see how it is.
Yeah, it's what I do.
I will watch them, but I just,
Mhm.
like I don't know, like it's anyway. That's another topic for another day, and a lot of stuff that I still can't talk about because you know,
Yep.
once those final episodes would. All right, I will talk about this though, because some people I wasn't on the episode, but there were some people who were calling people out for some. So when you watch it, did you watch any? Have you haven't watched any of it, so you don't even know what?
Not a second.
Okay, so the whole concept of the show is that somebody not famous comes out, introduces themselves, does a little talk, and then they sing a song. and then their famous relative in a sphere, in like kind of behind a curtain, will sing the second song, and then like there are clues on this curtain that will come up, and you have to guess who the famous person is. There was an episode where Joel McHale was the person behind the curtain. And like all the clues were so obvious that it was Joel McHale. And as soon as you started hearing him sing, you knew it was Joel McHale because he's got a very distinctive voice.
Yeah, that we
For
hear a lot.
Right, for people who are as obsessed with him as we are. We both of us watch Crime Scene Kitchen and Community. I know I watched Animal Control. Have you watched Animal Control yet?
No, that one I haven't watched.
Okay,
I used to
it's
watch him on what is it, The Soup?
The Soup. Yeah. You know, so I can tell you two things. One, um, you could not hear the voice in the sphere as well in the crowd, in the audience, as you can on TV. They've bumped the volume of the voice for TV. You could not hear it that well in the crowd. You just couldn't. I
All
mean,
right.
you could kind of hear it, but not as well as you can on TV. So a lot of people, because I know I had a couple of friends that were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you didn't get it based off the voice alone." And well, I wasn't in the room for the Joe McHale one, so I can't. But I was like, just wait until there's an announcement made and how it's going to get even dumber. So we recorded 2 episodes a day. For whatever reason, they never told us. Joe McHale hosted 2 episodes, not Anthony Anderson.
Okay.
For whatever reason, Anthony Anderson couldn't be that day, so they brought in Joel McHale. What was really dumb was that so Joel McHale did like this. I think it was Wednesday. He did both episodes on Wednesday. I wasn't in the room for either one of those, so I didn't get to see him any of the 3 times that he was there.
That's disappointing.
It is very disappointing. The very next recording, so it would have been Friday. Joe McHale was the first celebrity out of the box, out of the sphere, and like barely half the crowd got it. And I was like, "How? He was spent the whole day with you on Wednesday, and this
He
many
he
people."
he just didn't leave.
Yeah, he just didn't leave. He just hung out.
It's like, all right, he's going in the bubble. It's like, I'm not coming out.
Right. All right. Well, go get his cousin or something. I don't know.
It's my nephew.
But yeah, I have been getting a lot of shit from people for not getting Candace Cameron Bure right. But I have a good reason for it. I choked. I was an idiot.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to in a couple weeks when the show's all done. I'm gonna probably do 2 episodes on it. I'm gonna do one with you two, where I just talk about all the behind the scenes stuff and you guys can ask questions. And then I'm gonna do an episode where I think I'm gonna get a bunch of the people from the game show itself to like come on and we'll just do kind of like a recap and like kind of a so basically it's probably going to be 2 episodes of very similar content but with very different people.
All right.
I mean, but come on, that's pretty much what this podcast is. Just rehashing what we talk about all the time.
Pretty much.
You watch anything this week?
I have watched, I pulled it up so I wouldn't forget what I watched. The Postcard Killings was one of the last things I watched.
Oh, okay.
Familiar with it?
No, I'm not.
It's on Netflix. It's from 2020. It's with Famke Jensen, if I'm saying her name right, which I probably am not, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh, okay.
So I don't remember if it's their daughter or son. I think it's their daughter. Pretty sure. They're on like a honeymoon and they're touring across Europe, and they're both murdered. So there's a couple that's murdering tourists and other people, and then mutilating the bodies and posing them in different famous painting poses.
Oh, interesting.
So he's over there trying to figure out what happened. So it's kind of like that suspenseful thriller kind of crime movie like that. I turned it on one day because I couldn't decide what to watch, and the trailer looked pretty good, and but wasn't disappointed.
Yeah, all right. Um, I didn't really watch much this week. I finished off. I'm still burning my way through Top Chef, so like I'm up through season 13 now. So, I'm trying to catch up, although I don't think I'm going to be able to catch up by the time of the new season, because season 21 is the one they filmed here in Wisconsin.
Like grief.
So, I don't think I'm going to have a chance to catch up, but
No, probably
I
not.
I think I'll probably just skip a bunch of the seasons and start the Wisconsin one. But I watched so I did I've just been catching up, like, Quantum Leap and just stuff like that. I will say that there is one thing I want to talk about. I know that we're kind of getting away from being the news of the week, but this is too exciting to not talk about. Fantastic Forecast has been released. Did you see the Fantastic Forecast?
No, I have not.
Okay. Mr. Fantastic,
Oh, isn't that?
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, I was gonna say Pesco somebody.
I'm
Yes, I do remember that.
okay. Totally on board with that one. That one doesn't bother me. Actually, I'll tell you what, none of the cast bothers me. Vanessa Kirby is Sue Storm. Have you seen the new Mission Impossible movies, the last two?
Yes, I
Okay,
have.
she's the White Queen.
Okay.
That and then Johnny Storm, Human Torch is oh, I'm forgetting his name. Anyway, he's the kid who looks a lot like a very young Robert Downey Jr. in the most recent season of Stranger Things.
Well, never seen Stranger Things.
Joseph Quinn.
Joseph Quinn.
Yeah. I don't know him from anything else, but I did really like him in the new season of Stranger Things. So I'm totally on board with that. And then Ibn Mas Bakra, I probably butchering his last name. He's in The Bear, which I think didn't you
Is
weren't
he the
you
is he the cousin?
maybe I've only seen the one episode of The Bear. I need to give it another shot. Um,
So he's not the chef. He's the other guy.
he's not the
Not the guy from Shameless.
no, not that guy. I think he's
Okay.
the other guy. He's
Yeah.
gonna he's gonna be the thing. He's gonna be Ben Grimm.
All right. Don't hate it.
Don't hate. I mean, obviously, like Michael Chiklis was perfect, but like we're not getting him back. But most of the thing is going to be probably CGI anyway, so you could put just about anybody in that role. And,
Yeah.
it's not a bad cat. Now, obviously, that means they still haven't announced who like Doctor Doom or Galactus or Silver Surfer is going to be, and who knows. I mean, that seems like a lot of characters to introduce in one movie, so we'll probably get one of them and roll out and eventually. And I'm guessing Galactus is going to be too big of a character for them to do just a Fantastic Four movie. I'm guessing we'll get an Avengers level movie for Galactus.
You would have to.
Yeah, because that's too much of a um. But yeah, that was super exciting. They finally announced that, so hopefully we'll actually get a good Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
I mean, because the cast is already better than either of the other two casts. So, not to say that the other two casts didn't have some good actors, they just were very poorly cast in that one. So, anyway, you got anything else you wanna cover?
No, I think that's it. I'm looking forward to Deadpool.
Oh yes, that was a that. Did you watch the full trailer?
No,
Ah,
I will check it out though.
oh yeah, yeah,
Probably after this episode.
yeah. The full trailer is pretty good. Um, it definitely is going to involve, like, you might have you watched both seasons of Loki?
I have not.
Okay. I don't know how important it's going to be to Deadpool and Wolverine. Um, but it definitely involves the TVA. Like, they are very much wrapped up into how Deadpool is going to be going from whatever universe he's currently in into the MCU.
Does isn't this the first like one that has its own like red band trailer?
I don't think they've done a Red Band trailer yet. They probably will at some point,
Got
but
it.
there's definitely some things in the trailer where I'm like, oh, okay, we are not getting a Disney-fied version of Deadpool. Like, they said they weren't going to do it. They said we were going to get a rated R Deadpool. The only thing I'm confused about is the trailer we saw on the Super Bowl made it implied that it was called Deadpool 3. But
Yeah,
the
it's
trailer,
Deadpool and Wolverine, isn't it?
right? But the trailer that they show on YouTube, or the one that we'll probably be getting on TV at some point, is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Right.
So I don't know what the actual title of the movie is. But either way, I'm excited. I'm pretty excited to see that movie. Yeah, well,
No matter how much I'm burnt out on superhero and Marvel stuff, that one I'm stoked.
right. Well, you know what? I watched the Marvel. There we go. That is something that I watched recently. I watched the Marvels.
All right.
Um, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Um, it's, I mean, it could have been better, but it wasn't Dark World. You know, it wasn't. It wasn't the Eternals. Like
Oh,
it was fun. I mean, it was enjoyable, and it really matched the tone of Miss Marvel, which I thought was a pretty good show.
just watch that.
Yeah. That is also the first time, though, I've seen a Marvel movie since they started doing Disney Plus shows. Where, like, had you not watched Miss Marvel, you probably would have been a little confused. And
That's the problem I'm feeling like I'm going to run into soon.
I knew it was going. So far, it had not been an issue. You know, because they're like with Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. Like there was some stuff that happened in What If that maybe cleared some stuff up in that, but like it wasn't enough that we were like, oh, if I didn't watch it, then I'm lost. Um, I
Right, because
am
I never watched What If.
right. Just so like, I mean, but you did watch Multiverse of
Yeah,
Madness, yeah?
and I wasn't lost in anything.
No, and there was but so far they haven't done that with any of the series. Like watching the series kind of added to some of the stuff, but it wasn't so like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? Like,
Got it.
this was the first time where it was like, oh, wow, they really hinged on you having watched Miss Marvel to watch this movie. I mean, they explained stuff quick enough that like you weren't that lost, but it was still kind of like, oh, I'm more concerned about the next Captain America movie because they kind of passed the mantle over from Chris Evans to oh, I forgot his name. I feel bad. The Falcon.
Oh,
The Falcon.
yeah. I hate when I get put on the spot when you can't remember somebody's name.
But yeah,
Anthony Mackie,
yes,
Aaron Mackie.
Anthony Mackie. When they passed they passed the mantle over. Like he by the end of the Falcon Winter Soldier series,
Hey, I
he
watched
had
that one.
yes, he had officially taken over the role as Captain America.
Hmm.
Right. So the next movie, like he's just going to be Captain America. I mean, they might do a quick recap or whatever, but like I think it's going to be one of those. Wait, the last Captain America movie I saw was Civil War, and then Endgame, where he was like, oh, "I'm staying here and going to be old," and you're like, "Wait, what? How did he? What the?" Ugh.
I think I watched that one because Winter Soldier was in it. That's what I was like. All right, I'm going to watch this.
Yeah. So, all right, well, I guess if you are a secret Swiftie, or at least accused of being a secret Swiftie, just remember that stupid never walks alone.
Stay in school.
Comic books have been around for almost a century. And in the last 2 decades, we've finally gotten to see many of these characters brought to life in movies and on TV. On the Moving Panels podcast, we discuss movies and TV shows based on, inspired by, and adapted from the world of comic books. Join me and my guests as we discuss both the good and the bad from Marvel, DC, and even some of the lesser-known comic book companies. Learn what is and isn't from the comics, as well as our nerdy review of the movie or show. New episodes drop every Monday, and you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. So join us for Moving Panels, and I'll see you on the other side of the page.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and listen to an 80s Flick Flashback podcast once in a while, you could miss it. Do you love movies of a certain age? Do you miss the days of VHS tapes, VCRs, and the video rental stores? Does the thought of another 80s movie being remade seem inconceivable? My name is Tim Williams. I'm the creator and host of the 80s Flick Flashback podcast. On each episode, I'm joined by guest co-hosts to discuss one of the many movies released in the 1980s. We share our first-time watch memories, our favorite scenes, and even learn some behind-the-scenes stories about the cast and crew along the way. New episodes are released every other Friday on your favorite podcasting platform. So make like a tree, get out of here, and go listen to an excellent episode of the 80s Flick Flashback podcast. The ad is over. Go home. Go.